Well, welcome and thank you for coming tonight so we can have Craig Smith talk about the book that he's written. And I have read it, and I think it's an amazing book, and it's an amazing story. Would you please help me welcome Craig Smith?
Thank you, General Mott, and thank you all for coming. I ended up in the Marine Museum in Washington, D.C. I'd been sent there by a fellow in the Library of Congress who said they might be able to help me. And they were very kind to me. They gave me a little office to work in when I was there, and arranged to get boxes of documents from the National Archives. So I went through these documents, and there was a lot of information about what we knew about the prison camps, even in 1943 and 44, but of course there was nothing that we could do about them at that time. But in one of the boxes I found a little leather-bound notebook with a police report, and the notebook had a name written in it, Lieutenant Pierce, obviously an American serviceman, and a few pages of English, but the rest of it was all written in Japanese and had little hand-drawn maps of Guam and American airplanes and things of that sort. And so that intrigued me, and then the police report that accompanied it indicated that whoever wrote the diary had been killed on Christmas Day, 1946, after the war was over. So I thought that was sad in a way. Later on, I found out that Ito had actually survived. He and one of his friends had stayed in the jungle until 1960, at which time his buddy was caught by some Guamanians while he was climbing a breadfruit tree, and they saw him and they caught him and they took him into the Navy headquarters, where he admitted there was one other guy living in the jungle. And so they went back and called out, and Ito then surrendered, and the two of them went home and were heroes in Japan. There was a movie made about them. So after finding all this out, I then tried to find out if Mr. Ito was still alive, and he was. It turns out he was working as a bank guard in Tokyo, and so I was able to get him to come back to Guam, and again, with the help of the Marines, was able to return his actual diary to him. We had a reception at the Country Club of Guam, which actually is now built on the site not far from where his hideout was. It was near, as I recall, the 9th hole. So the terrain had changed a lot. Ito also led us out on some further hikes in the jungle, showing us some of the places that he had roamed and where he had hidden out. And a lot of this was right under the noses of the American military. And then at that point, I gave him back his wartime diary, which you see in his hand here, and he gave me this wooden Buddha statue that he had carved himself. And it's a very emotional scene.